We are live here on Substack for only the second time. And guess what? Melissa's been my guest both times. Melissa, thanks for just kind of, I don't know, I was going to say being the guinea pig, but being willing to come back
Hey,
for a
whatever you
live
want to
video.
call it, I'm excited about it.
So we got some hearts coming in. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Hey, Jen.
Hey, Jen. So Melissa was a guest for my Feline Wellness Summit. She's been a guest for the Golden Whiskers podcast. Now she's a 2-time guest for the Substack Lives. Melissa, I probably should get you on the payroll here. But for those that don't know Melissa, she is a pet health coach, a energy healer, a pet communicator, right?
Yeah,
What
animal
else?
communicator.
Animal communicator.
Oh, I just studied and graduated from an iridology, which is really cool. It's the study of the iris of the eye. So I add different modalities just to help support your cats even more, and dogs and other animals as well.
I love it. I love it. And you were tuning in from
Florida, Central Florida.
Okay. And I'm here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So both having a hot summer. So if you are watching this live, well, even if you're watching the replay, you can submit questions. So if you have any questions for Melissa, just go ahead and type them in and we'll see if we can get to those. If you're watching this after the fact, still ask questions if you have any. I'll make sure Melissa sees them and we'll get your questions answered. So this wasn't probably really a question for this interview, but I liked it because as I teased this on a Substack chat yesterday, Jean asked, can we ask questions about our cats and why they do things? What kind of questions? Is she a psychic? Are you a psychic, Melissa? How would you call it?
I don't actually call myself that, but some of the stuff I do is psychic. Like I am but to me, psychic is more about kind of reading the future, reading what's going to happen. I'm more of an animal communicator. So I try to, at least on the first session, I like to focus on the here and now. So let's say your cat's peeing on the bed. I don't know why, what's going on. I'm going to connect through telepathy, which is pictures, words, and feelings. And it's through, our mind. It's something that all of us can do, but it's like going to the gym. You have to do it. You have to work that muscle. You have to get used to it. It's a skill we were born with, and then we lost as soon as we had the ability to talk. And what I kind of compare it to is like tuning into a radio station. So what I do is I usually request a picture because I kind of like to see everybody's cats and dogs. I like to see the pictures. It makes it a little bit easier for me to connect, but I don't have to have that. So if you don't have a picture, I'm connecting with their energy. So think of it like a radio station, and I connect with the energy that's around them, and it just really gives me a level where I can communicate with them, and they'll share things from their perspective. And then my role is to somewhat translate that. So they're not saying like, I'm peeing on the bed because XYZ. It's a little bit, a roundabout way. Like they'll show me that something's scary, or maybe there's anxiety in the house that's kind of like, hey, the energy in the house is off. So they're communicating with feelings, and then I'm communicating that to you like, hey, this is what they're showing me. What does that mean to you? And then it comes back around, right? Like, oh, yeah, we just got a dog. And of course, I didn't put those two things together. So it kind of fills in the gaps, brings in their perspective, and it really sheds lights on why these things might be happening.
And do you also communicate with animals that have passed away too?
Yeah. So that would be considered more like a mediumship, because I'm actually communicating with their energy, but it doesn't matter if they're here or they've crossed over. I can do the same. To me, it feels the same. I can tell if they're here or not, but the rest of it, it's the same thing. It's the pictures, words, and feelings.
Mm-hmm. Does it have to be like, I guess it's probably all energy, you're probably going to say, I'm guessing, but what if a cat is just kind of being more vocal and they're meowing all the time? Maybe not, they're maybe they're not doing anything like peeing outside of the litter box or no like
Yeah.
behavior changes, but they're just vocalizing more. How would that look in the real world if you were helping somebody, I guess, decipher their cat's meows?
So, with that, first we would want to rule out that there's not actually something physical, medical. If
Yeah.
that's ruled out and they're just really chatty all of a sudden, I so it depends on the cat. Sometimes they're going to be straightforward and just be like, "This is going on. What is going on?" And then I can just put two and two together and be like, "Okay, that's why your cat's chatty." But other times it's a little more roundabout, and sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, but it's really just I'm connecting with them, seeing what they're feeling. And the vocalization could be anything. It could be them like kind of saying, "Hello." Oh, and doesn't it sound like that sometimes too? Like they're
Yeah.
trying to tell you through 10 different things what's going on, and then you're not getting it. So then they're just vocalizing it. And it's still shared the same way though.
Yeah, sometimes it
I'll ask them to show me, like, why so if it doesn't come straight forward, that's what I was gonna say. If it doesn't come straight up, like, "This is what's going on," I'll ask them, "Hey, so I heard, you're being a little bit more vocal. Can you take me through what that looks like?" And then I really feel into what they're feeling in that moment. So it's kind of almost like therapy. I don't wanna say
Mhm.
therapy, but it's kind of like if you've ever done therapy and they're walking you through something that really causes a reaction in your body, they'll walk you through that. Like, tell me what it feels like to walk into the office. Where are you feeling that in your body? So I do the same thing with cats and ask them, okay, show me what it feels like to do all this.
and sometimes when they meow, it actually does sound like a human word. It's like,
I know,
did they
right?
just
No,
speak
I get
English?
no's, I get hellos.
Ow, ow,
Yeah.
ow, something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
now sometimes too.
yeah. So I know you described a little bit, but let's dig in. Tell me a little bit more what it means to tune into your pet's energy, and how can cat parents begin to kind of doing that today?
So the first step is to slow down and really you have to connect with yourself first. So, what I like to walk people through is I know you have some meditations. I'm sure they would work. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but you really want to do like a scan on yourself head to toe. What am I feeling? Go from your toes and feel all the way up and just anywhere that feels like, oh, okay, my knee. Okay. And then try to release that feeling. And if it sticks around, remember that when you're connecting with your cat that it might not be them, but you just kind of you want to clear everything out. So check yourself first, release everything that you're feeling. I know I'm making that sound like so, but it could
Or
be
easy.
do a 10-20 minute meditation. It depends on you and how elevated you are. Bring yourself all the way down and then just get quiet and then visualize them. I mean, this is what I do. It might be a little different for different people, but visualize them. The thing that I do with people that they're trying to connect for the first time is I like to say, think about that love that you have for them. Really feel it in your heart, feel it in your body. Like, what does it feel like when you come home and they say hi? Really feel into the love and then invite them in. So I know it sounds a little woo woo, but it's really about that intention and focusing on all those feelings and then just sit quiet. Something might pop in, a feeling, a word, a picture, and then just is it yours? Is it theirs? And it's something that you have to practice. It's not overly complicated, but the more you do it, the more you start saying, well, I don't know where that came from. What is that? And it's probably your cat. If like a random thought or, you know, fish pops in your head, you're like, well, I'm not thinking about fish. It might be them sending you a message.
What are some signs that your cat may be energetically out of balance? What would that actually look like?
So, if you notice new behaviors, that's usually the first thing. Maybe they like scratches and then suddenly they don't, or maybe they're hiding when they're usually social. So, things like that, little slight changes in behavior. Um, and not usually like I don't know about your cats, but mine. they rotate where their spots are for the day. And then it seems like almost seasonally or monthly, they pick new spots. So not that, but something more drastic, like they are peeing on your bed. There is the meowing. Something's off. They're trying to tell you there's an imbalance. So just little subtle cues like that where you're like, well, this is a really persistent new behavior. What's going on? And likely something is off energetically, whether it's physically in the body or emotionally. Something is just out of balance. And it's good to either get quiet and try to listen and see if something pops in, or work with an animal communicator to really get that connection and get some answers as to what's going on. Also check yourself. I've told you that before, right, Scott?
Yeah.
The first thing is ask yourself if something changed in you, and then proceed from there.
Yeah. I've been doing a series, as you know, on my podcast called They Saved Me First, which if you haven't tuned in,
really cool.
Yeah, if you haven't tuned in, it's a series where I'm interviewing people whose pets have basically shown up during the humans a tough time in their life. So, for example, I'll just give a little preview for this week's, because Joyce had commented on my chat earlier today. She may be watching. So her episode's coming out Friday, so just tomorrow. She's got a cat, Tails.
Yeah.
And her cat is Tails. And when Joyce was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, Tails belonged to her niece. Oh, I got a cat coming in. Hang on.
Oh, Drive
Before you
by.
knock,
There's a sighting.
this is Milo. Before you knock over this phone.
Milo.
Good boy, Milo. You're on TV. Don't go that way. That's the phone is over that way. Gonna knock over. So when she was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, she was living with some family members. Tails belonged to her niece. Well, Tails came over and comforted Joyce like every single day, to the point where Joyce is now the mom and not the niece of Tails. So Tails was really intuitive. And the reason I brought that up, we did get a comment coming in just a little bit before we started this interview from Mark. It wasn't a question, but you may have some thoughts here. He said, one of my cats, Winston, seems to know if I'm not feeling well, which is quite a bit lately. I mean, 11 surgeries in 10 years is very taxing on the body. That's just so I can remain semi-mobile. I still will require a couple more surgeries just to walk through my home. Sometimes things look grim, but Winston helps to remain optimistic. I love thinking about that.
I love it.
Relationship, the bond between the cat and the human. I'm sure you've seen it in your work, but yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
They're such incredible little healers. I mean, if you're open to them and you are open to that, they will come over to you when you don't feel good. And that's because they're sensing a shift in you and they want to come and clear your energy and help you recalibrate, essentially. So a lot of times, the purring, they'll purr on your heart center, or they'll purr if you have an injury. They'll lay on that injury and purr. I mean, they know what they're doing, and they're sensing our energy is off. And they're like, oh, because even if you're sad or depressed or you're anxious and your cat's not, and they're super grounded, a lot of them will just come over and be like, hey. And that's when they come over and sit on you and start purring. And that's really them helping you regulate your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
I really, they're very magical little beings. I love cats.
They make my days happy.
Yeah.
I want to start, I know we've talked a lot about just like, hey, if there's something in their behavior has changed, let's tune in and all that. But I think, and what I'm hoping to start talking about more are just daily rituals. No matter if one of us is having a bad day or not, what are some daily rituals? I know you mentioned some meditation, but maybe there are some other things that we can do daily with our cats to just deepen that emotional bond with them.
So it is going to depend on the cat and the human and what they
Mm.
like because, even speaking of meditation, probably 40% of the people that are listening are like, I am not meditating. I don't want to do that. And don't force yourself to do that. But I'll give an example. I have one of my cats, my male cat, Papa, he likes to go on meditative walks with me. So that's different than like sitting there, like, okay, he will not do that. So to try to spend time with him in that sense, not happening. So look at your cat's personality and then try to figure out something. Playtime would be a good thing. Anything that's going to help you bond with them and meet them where they are. So I think that's the most important thing is letting them choose and picking an activity that works for both of you. So meditation, play, you have your coloring book, which I think is probably one of the most incredible things because people that don't like to meditate, it's your brain is going into a meditative state even though your eyes are open and you're coloring. So like that is something that I recommend to a lot of people that don't know what to do or my cat doesn't like to play, my cat doesn't go on walks, my cat doesn't meditate. Well, get a coloring book. I'm part of a Reiki group. It's called Sarah. It's part of Kathleen Prasad's Let Animals Lead method. But they did this whole study where they went to a sanctuary and had the practitioners color, and the animals
Mhm.
all just came up and were looking at them. So it's just so incredible what that does to your energy. For animals that are in a setting that may not be ideal, they're coming to you. So imagine if your cat is home and totally chilling, and then you're now exuding this energy. They're going to come to you and they're going to love it. So color for a few minutes a day.
Mm. I love it. And well, thank you for mentioning my coloring book. I
I
probably
love your
don't
coloring book. It's
I, pro-
such a
I, pro-
brilliant idea.
I probably don't mention it enough, but for those of you who don't know, I'll give a little plug. I created a cat coloring book, so it's 25 really beautiful cat designs that you can color. And like Melissa said, if you want to have more like calm and peace, I'm big on mindfulness anyway, coming from a health and fitness background. So I recommend all my clients have a mindful practice. But if meditation isn't for you, if journaling isn't for you, maybe coloring is. So that is a great kind of mindful activity. Look, somebody gave a heart as I
Someone
we
did.
talked. Um, I do want to share with you, Melissa, kind of a story that happened to me just a couple nights ago, where you came to my mind and it really helped me. So I was hanging out with my friend Lori for a couple hours. I came home and somehow Nico, not the cat you just saw, but the other one, somehow I have a wand toy and the main part, not the handle part, but where the thing the feather is attached to is kind of like a wire material because it's withstands like biting and chewing and all that. Somehow that while I was gone, that became detached from the wand and got tightly wrapped around his paw, one of his hind paws, where it was actually like not just wrapped around where I could just unwrap it, but like almost like tied somehow. Um, and it was very scary because when I first came home, they usually greet me and he didn't greet me. And eventually he came down, he was in my closet and I finally saw what was going on. But every time I tried to like approach him, lift his paw, he was probably in some pain and he like flinched or ran away. So the old Scott, before meeting Melissa Sherman, would have panicked, would have been anxious, would have just like maybe been in tears, would have been an emotional wreck. Like, what am I going to do? This isn't working. I can't, he's hurting. What do I do? And the new Scott remained calm the entire time because I was just thinking like, if I'm anxious, because you always say, like, if the human is anxious, the cat's gonna be anxious, right? I think
Yeah,
they can
yeah.
mirror they can feel what
They
we
can
are
feel it
thinking,
and
right?
wonder like, "Well, what are you freaking out about? I have this
Yes.
thing on my leg and I'm already freaking out, but now
Yeah,
you're freaking out, so it will make it like 10 times bigger."
yeah. So I basically had to call my best friend who knows Nico, well, who I was just hanging out with. She came over, and while I was calming Nico down, feeding him, he got probably the most treats he've ever had in one night. You know, fed him a lot of treats just to, kind of almost like even though I'm his dad, I had to, like, build that trust that I wasn't there to hurt him, but to help him, and so, just thank you and some of the other, feline amazing experts out there who have taught me to remain calm when something's going on like that. Because I think that was a big help. We eventually, of course, got the thing off, and it
Good.
didn't seem like he was back to normal, didn't seem there was no blood, didn't seem like that there was any damage or anything like that, but I feel like I when my friend left, I was like, she's the one that kinda did the work and got the wire off. I was like, "The one good thing I did out of all this, I remained calm."
Yeah.
And maybe I know you've talked about it, maybe you can kinda speak to the importance of that, and especially in a situation like that.
Of course, because what it sounds like is, I mean, he might have even gone into like a fight or flight type of response. So he's not really acting himself or in his body. He's a little scared. So even if you go to him calm, it's still, you know, it's hard when you're in an emergent like, that's an emergency
Emergency.
situation.
Yeah.
So, there wasn't any bleeding, so you can kinda, like, step away for a second and collect yourself. Do you know about, like, polarity or how to do, like, a you can reset your polarity? Because that might be something that people can do too. Like, if you walk into a situation and you can take some deep breaths, but you just take your fingers on your right hand and just you swipe 7 times from right to
Mm,
left, and, like, you can feel your nervous system calming down. Of course, you're still gonna be a little elevated, but it just will help reset you. You can do that to them too if they'll let you touch. But the thing is when you're scared and they're scared, it just feeds it's each other, right? So it makes it
mhm,
worse. And then it gets to the point where you're both panicking, you're both in fight or flight, and then what happens? Nothing. It makes the whole situation worse. So whatever you can do in that situation, and it's hard, don't let yourself go into fight or flight. If you
mhm,
see something, step back, take a minute, do the polarity, check your polarity, take a few breaths, and then go back into the situation. Because like what you did, you were able to think logically, you were able to call your friend and get some help. Otherwise it could have been not great, right? It could have
yeah,
hurt him in the process because you try to catch him and try to pin him down and try to take it off. That whole process is kind of traumatizing to them because why is dad doing this? What's
mm,
going on? So it can make it worse. But the calmer that you can be, especially with cats, the better. And that goes across the board. I mean, of course you can get excited or, have emotions, but the more neutral that you can stay, especially in emergency situations, as you see, it turned out a lot better.
mhm. Yeah, the other thing I was thinking, like, as best as I could, I wanted him to approach me versus me trying to, like, chase him down type of thing, so treats,
That was
petting
really
him
smart.
not, like, fiddling with the affected area all the time,
Right.
but soothing him, petting him. I didn't, Julianne Hart's gonna be our guest next week, and she talks a lot about color therapy,
Yeah.
herbs, things like that to, help cats, like, approach a specific spot in the room or feel more calm using some things like that. So that's kinda the other thing, like, I can't just keep chasing after him, then picking
Right.
him up because I felt like he'd probably freak out even more in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, he probably would have. I agree. Yeah, I think what you did was really it was really smart.
I just want a reassurance from you, Melissa.
Yeah.
I'm just checking to see if
And
anybody.
you can
So
always you can visualize too. So if something like that happens, you can kind of in your head visualize what you're gonna do. So they're gonna so that's back to the telepathy and the animal communication. It's sending them kind of a note, and you don't wanna do it in a chaotic way. Don't, like, be freaking out when you're doing the visualization, but if you're thinking like, "Oh, I'm just gonna lift your leg, and we're just gonna take this off, and it's gonna be easy. It's not gonna it's all gonna work out." So just focus on all the positives that are gonna happen,
mhm,
not, "I'm afraid this is gonna hurt you." Like, none of that. Don't do that. It's all
yeah.
the positive stuff like, "Oh, this is gonna be easy. You're gonna get extra treats afterwards. You're gonna feel better."
Let's kind of wrap up with this, but what
Sure.
is one thing? I know you've had a lot of cats, but what is one thing your cats, maybe one of your cats, have taught you about healing or presence that just kind of stays with you?
So presence, and I think I'm gonna talk about my cat, Maisie, who recently passed away. I I was working in a corporate job. I was very stressed out, and at the time, I had 4 cats, and when I moved, I didn't understand why she wasn't coming out anymore. She was just I mean, my house is a little bit bigger than the space I was living in, so I kind of dismissed it like, "Oh, she just found a place she likes to be." And I was still in this belief that cats like to sleep and they like to hide a lot, and, like, I just really made excuses for the behavior instead of leaning in, like, "Why did you change? What's going on with you?" and asking those questions. So, Maisie reminded me to be present because, I started while I was still in that job, I started to do some more personal healing and really getting into energy work and actually practicing it, where I realized it was me. I was coming home with this, like, really bad energy and, like, yuck, and it was so big that I would come home because that's the other thing is I had cameras in the home, and I would
Hmm.
see during the day she's out, so of course I started to take it personally, like, "Why is she hiding when I come home?" But it was that taking a step back again and seeing instead of just saying, "Oh, she's just doing this," or "Oh, she's mad at me," or whatever the excuse is, instead of dismissing the behavior, get curious about it, look inward. And if it's not you, what is it? What changed for them? Is it medical? Is there another animal harassing them? Is there a food they don't like? Really getting curious about what caused that change because her personality was not hiding. I mean, she was sassy, she was, very opinionated and always upfront. So the fact that she went away and wasn't present, I mean, as soon as I started meditating more and doing more work on myself, she started coming out more. She became my lap cat again. So it really solved all those mysteries that I was like, I shouldn't have moved because my cat changed. It wasn't that at all, right?
Yeah,
It was me. It was
it
the
was
stress
you.
of everything. Just life,
Yeah.
human life is like that. So she taught me to be present, to be curious, and to ask questions instead of just, oh, cats do that. Because they
Hmm.
don't. There is no cats are just this or that. They're not angry. They're misunderstood. And I think that's the biggest thing that she taught me is, you know, be present.
Yeah. I love that. And that kind of seems to be a theme of the guests that I've talked to for They Saved Me First. The
Yeah.
um, one whose interview went live last Friday, she brought home a dog that had already had 3 owners, so she was the 4th. The dog was scared to go up and down the apartment stairs, so she sat with her dog for 8 hours, being present, slowing down. I think things that we could all use more of.
Mhm.
Melissa, thank you so much for being here. I know you have a Substack. You put a lot of great content out. Could you please share
Thank
where we
you.
can follow you and read your Substack and maybe anywhere on social media as well?
Sure. So on Substack, it's Common Creek. And then my website is commoncreek.com. And then on Facebook, Instagram, it's also Common Creek. So or Instagram is Common Creek Healing, but everything else is Common Creek.
Okay, great. And I think we've linked to your Substack at least, but I'll make sure we link to the other
Thank you.
places. Thank you for being a four-time interviewee
Thank
uh,
you.
in my short career as a feline wellness host, I guess. That's been wonderful. Thank you for always agreeing to be here. I know this is your passion. I appreciate you just coming into my world and sharing with my audience here. We're going to have Julianne Hart next week. And then, well, maybe talked a little bit about it, but after that, I want to get you and Julianne and myself in one of these live videos
That would
and
be awesome.
have a little bit of a roundtable there. So I think we'll do that soon. But Melissa, thank you so much for your wisdom and for sharing and for doing the work that you do.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me here. And thank you for having this space for cat parents everywhere. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Everybody watching live or on the replay, thank you so much. Hope you take something that Melissa mentioned and maybe apply it with your cat if you have one. Also, if you ask a question on a replay, we'll see it. I'll make sure Melissa um, can view the question and we'll get you an answer as well. Again, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.